So we got a box in the mail the other day from Grounded, and it's supposed to be some sort of like papercraft diorama. We're gonna put that together today. A nice box of Puncho. So what do you think? I mean, it's kind of cool, but I think we can do a little bit better. They have this cool little paper like orb weaver here, but we've 3D printed a Broodmother. You guys saw that a while back. And I think we can take this up and do it a little bit better. Also, they've sent a few Steam keys and we've hidden those throughout the video. So first come, first serve. If you find one of them, go ahead and redeem it in Steam and it's yours for free.
So for our own Grounded diorama, we're going to be showing Blitz and Intern going up against the Broodmother.
This is insane! And you're dead, Broodmother! Yay. I kind of want to do it again.
I took our Broodmother from before and gave it a new paint job, and we'll also be using Blitz and Intern's grounded characters and adding those to the diorama. Since I don't have a whole lot of experience working with character models yet, I'm gonna let Beaker take care of getting them ready.
Now, we don't really have the modeling skills to resculpt Blitz and Intern's grounded characters from scratch, so we decided to just rip the models from the game. After searching online, we found a program called UModel that would allow us to go into the game files and extract all of the 3D models from the game. After overriding the game detection with 4.27, we were able to easily find the characters and export those models as a GLTF, and then import those into Blender. While these characters are rigged for the game, they don't work really well in Blender, so we just deleted the existing rig. Of course, we'll still need a rig to pose the character, so after reattaching all of the textures and importing the armor models, we used Mixamo's auto rigger to rig them. Back in Blender, we activated the Mixamo rig, posed the characters, and exported these models for printing.
Now that we have our models ready, we can roughly plan out what the scene is going to be for our diorama in Blender. So we need to start by bringing in both of our character models. We can bring in Blitz's little character, position him a little bit over here or something, and next we can take Intern, put him off to the right here, see how that looks, and now we can move on to adding in our Broodmother. And this is super small, so we're gonna have to size him up some to match the rest of the models, and then we'll stick the Broodmother over this way, somewhat in the direction that both of our characters are going, and then I think it'll look good to have it facing up some, and then we'll have it coming down looking at them. And with the Broodmother in place, we can work on tweaking the positioning of our characters a little bit. We'll bring them in some so they're a little more lined up with the spider. And I think that looks good, and we should be ready to move on to printing. These models are pretty small, and they're going to be somewhat hard to print on my FDM printers. I'd print them on a resin printer if I had one! I'm hoping that printing them in Cura with tree supports will make them a bit easier to print and to clean up when they're done printing. I think these cleaned up pretty okay, and it was better than what I was hoping for. Even managed not to break off any of the smaller bits of the model this time. Some of my past test prints were not so lucky. Now that these are cleaned up though, we needed to figure out a good way to get them to stand up in our scene. Since we were using foam board for our base, we had a great idea to glue some spikes on the bottom of the models so we can poke that into the foam. And this ended up making it super easy to spray a clear coat on my models. I was able to take a bit of scrap foam and use that as a little stand while I painted them without getting spray paint all over my fingers. Then I moved on to painting the color. I tried to match the color of the armor and the characters from the game the best I could. They turned out pretty well, and now they're ready to be put in our diorama. We created our entire diorama base out of foam board, and the size of the scene was based on the size of the Broodmother print. The goal was to make our scene look like some sort of cave wall, and that the Broodmother was climbing down towards our characters. Once I had the base cut to the size I needed it to be, I moved on to cutting and shaping more foam pieces and began to layer them on top of the base to start building up the cave shape. After those pieces were all done, I glued them into place. Once those pieces were all dried onto the base, I sealed and filled any gaps with some plaster of Paris. Since I wanted this to look like a realistic rocky cave, I added some little bits and pieces of leftover foam all around to create some additional texture. Since I used foam board to create the base, spray paint will actually eat away at it and melt it. So the first thing I had to do was seal the whole thing with some acrylic paint. After that, I was able to give it a nice even coat of gray. Now I wanted to make the cave look like dark weathered stone, So I watered down some black and gray acrylic paint and lightly brushed that all over the base. Once that looked the way I wanted it to, I started to add some of the extra details to our scene. I printed out some egg models to be my Broodmother egg sacs, and then I decided to leave the supports on the prints since it actually made a really good base for them. And then I just taped those on the base rather than gluing them in case I need to reuse this cave scene for any future dioramas that we do. Next, I needed to add the spider webs all over that our Broodmother will be sitting on. My original idea was to try and use some white silly string, thinking that would have a cool effect for webbing, but it ended up drying super yellow. Since I didn't have any spray webbing, I experimented with using cotton balls. My first attempt though didn't end up looking too good. It was super clumpy and looked kinda cluttered. Didn't really give the effect of webbing. So I tried again, making sure to pull the cotton apart to get it as thin as I could, and I made long cotton strings too. Then I added some of the webbing going down around the egg sacs, and I covered up the supports. And I thought this time it ended up turning out a lot better. Once I finished putting down all the cotton, I added the Broodmother on top of the webbing. For my first time trying to make some webbing from cotton, I think the results turned out pretty good. Of course, we don't want Blitz and Intern to be going up against the Broodmother empty-handed, so we created little torches for each of them to carry. Originally, I wanted to add LEDs to the torches to have them light up, but then I realized I wouldn't really be able to hide the wires anywhere for them easily. So instead, I ended up cutting up a wooden stirring stick, and then I sanded those pieces down until they fit in the characters' hands. After they were fitting really well, I painted them with brown, and then I wrapped some cotton around the top. And now that everything's put together, it looks pretty good.
And now for the best part, lighting things on fire. And I know you're gonna ask, we do have a fire extinguisher here on the side. There's also a little bucket of water if something bad did happen. I mean, it is all styrofoam and everything here is flammable, so we do have this fully under control. I just hope it looks really, really cool.
It did end up looking really cool, plus we didn't burn down the building. But I'd love to hear what you guys thought about this project and how it turned out. Let us know in the comments any cool ideas or suggestions of what you think we should do next. And if you liked this project, make sure to like the video, and thanks for watching.